Have you ever wondered why time, the seemingly fairest measure of the universe, treats us humans in such cruel and different ways? Look around you. At the same age of 60, there are people who still carry within them a surging energy. They run marathons, climb mountains, learn new languages, and passionately work on unfinished projects. However, exactly at that same 60-year mark of life, there are those whose minds fade, bodies wither, confined to wheelchairs, and consider hospital corridors their second home. From ancient times to the present, humanity has always held a fatalistic belief. Aging is a one-way arrow. It plunges straight into the abyss. We believe that as calendar pages are continuously turned, as age increases, the physical and mental decline is a predetermined sentence, unappealable. We blame time. But scientific truth tells a completely different story. The chronological age recorded on a birth certificate and the biological age actually operating inside each of your cells are two completely independent numbers. The discrepancy between those two numbers is not created by expensive skin creams, flashy cosmetic procedures, or magic pills that deceive the eye. The root of youth and aging lies hidden deep within the life of each cell. In 2009, the entire medical world was truly shocked when Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn stepped onto the podium of glory to receive the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine. Along with her colleagues, she didn't just find a new discovery, they found the real golden key to decoding the human aging machine. These great findings were later synthesized by her and health psychologist Dr. Elissa Epel in a revolutionary book, The Telomere Effect. This book shattered all classical genetic myths. Aging, turns out, is not an uncontrolled downhill slide. It is an incredibly dynamic process. It can be catastrophically accelerated, spectacularly slowed down, and miraculously, at a molecular level, it can be completely reversed.
To truly comprehend this miracle called life, we cannot just glance from the outside. Come with me on a journey into the micro-world, diving deep into the inner ocean of your body. The human body is made up of trillions of cells. Inside each cell nucleus are chromosomes, which store the entire DNA genetic code, the great design that creates you today. Imagine your chromosomes are exactly like a shoelace. If you notice, at both ends of any shoelace, there is always a hard plastic cap. This plastic cap does not contribute to the length or color of the lace. Its sole job is to prevent the fibers from fraying, not to get tattered after friction. In molecular biology, that priceless plastic cap protecting DNA has a scientific name: telomere. The mission of telomeres is to become a sacrificial shield. It does not contain genetic code deciding how tall you are or how intelligent you are. It just quietly stands at the two ends of the chromosome to bear all the wearing instead of the important DNA. And the harsh truth is, our body is continuously wearing down that shield every millisecond. For your body to survive, heal wounds, regrow hair, or renew skin, cells are forced to continuously duplicate. But every single time a cell performs the division process, the telomere plastic cap is cut a little bit shorter. Scientists call this inevitable exhaustion phenomenon the Hayflick limit. What happens when the telomere shield is completely exhausted? Does that cell die a peaceful death to make way for a new cell? The answer is no. And this is the truly frightening part of aging.
When telomeres are too short, the cell doesn't die, but enters a state called senescent cell, or loosely called by scientists, zombie cells. They're like real zombies, lethargic, inactive, but refuse to leave. More terrifyingly, these zombie cells continuously secrete extremely powerful inflammatory molecules, spreading aging, poisoning, and destroying the healthy surrounding tissue. This phenomenon is called inflammaging. It is a slow burning fire inside the body, the real root of saggy wrinkles, of joint pain, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's syndrome, and the entire decline of the human body. Hearing this, you might feel an overwhelming sense of helplessness. If every time a cell divides, we draw closer to death, then what can we do but despairingly wait?
But wait, this is when the light of the 2009 Nobel Prize shines. In the process of studying seemingly the tiniest microorganisms in ponds, Dr. Blackburn discovered something that upset all previous biological laws, an enzyme named telomerase. If telomere is the plastic cap at the end of a shoelace, then telomerase is a diligent and magical builder.
This enzyme has extraordinary ability. It takes basic genetic materials and builds upon the shortened telomere part, mends the breaks, and lengthens the protective shield. The presence of telomeres means the cell is granted a new life. Its lifespan is extended, and the aging process is blocked. So the million-dollar question is, how do we possess an abundance of this youth-restoring enzyme? And the greatest, most core secret of the entire book, The Telomere Effect, is exactly this. Whether the amount of this telomere builder enzyme is high or low, whether they work diligently or go on strike, is not entirely determined by fate or genetics. It depends directly, right at this moment, on how you live, how you eat, how you move, and most amazingly, on how you think. Let's begin with the invisible, yet most devastating power, the mind. Your body is not just a mindless physical machine. It is an entity always lingering, listening to every thought, every emotion that glides in your brain. And this listening happens deep down at the DNA level. In 2004, a landmark study by author Alyssa Epple changed forever how we look at stress. She reached out to extraordinary but also most pained women, mothers carrying day and night for children with severe chronic diseases like cerebral palsy or autism. She wanted to see how extreme stress impacts the cell on a micro level. The result sent a shiver through the entire scientific community. Mothers feeling the greatest pressure, those always living in a state of chronic stress, possess telomere segments that are extremely short and frayed. Their cells have aged at least 10 years more compared to their real chronological age on paper. Chronic stress doesn't just make you tired, doesn't just cause insomnia. It is literally holding a pair of scissors, cutting off a piece every day of your chromosome. When you are heavily stressed, the brain orders a massive pumping of cortisol hormone into the blood.
A little cortisol is good to help you stay alert to run away from danger, but if it keeps flooding the blood day after day, it will turn into a biological acid, completely wiping out the telomerase enzyme and accelerating the tearing process of telomeres. However, the book also points out a glimmer of hope. Not every type of stress has toxicity. The vital difference lies not in what event you face, but in how you label that event. If you stand before a difficult project, a debt, or a sudden incident, and you consider it a threat taking away your own safety, your body will shrink, blood vessels constrict, and telomeres get damaged. But if you change your perspective, consider that very difficulty a challenge to conquer, a puzzle to upgrade yourself. Your body will respond completely differently. Your blood vessels expand, brain pumps more blood, and especially, telomerase enzyme is strongly activated to protect the cells. Your attitude immediately becomes the armor of DNA. The scientists in the book have pointed out and named 5 vicious cycle thinking patterns, 5 mental poisons that are silently destroying the plastic caps of your shoelaces every day. Try listening and see if you are suffering from any of these patterns. First is cynical hostility. This is the type of person who always wears gray lenses when looking at life. They always assume others have bad intentions towards them, are always in a defensive state, and ready to bristle like a porcupine. Research shows this is the group with the shortest telomeres and the highest mortality rate from cardiovascular disease. Second is pessimism. People who retreat before fighting, see risks everywhere, always forecast a terrible future. This negative prediction forces the body to live in a state of constant false alarm, exhausting the cell's resources. Third is ruminating on sadness. The past is gone, but many people keep holding on to it. The fact that you keep tormenting yourself about a trauma, a terrible comment, or a failure from 5 years ago causes the brain to be unable to distinguish between the past and present. Each time you remember the pain, your cells have to relive the exact devastating stress of that day one more time. Fourth is suppressing thoughts. Instead of facing and dissolving emotions,
We choose to swallow tears inside, try to bury anger or sadness deep in the heart. Spending energy to suppress emotions is like trying to push a balloon down under the surface of the water. It creates a massive pressure on the immune system and exhausting telomeres. And finally, fifth, is mind wandering. Your body is sitting here, but your mind is busy flying to tomorrow's meeting or regretting yesterday's stories. The disconnection from the present makes you never have internal peace. So what is the antidote for these 5 thinking patterns? Surprisingly, modern Western medicine has found a perfectly matching answer with the philosophy of Eastern enlightened masters. That is the practice of mindfulness, or mindfulness. People who spend 10 to 15 minutes of quiet time each day, closing their eyes, directing attention to their breath, and observing thoughts without judgment, have had their telomerase enzyme levels soar. Just by bringing the mind back to reality, you are actually commanding your body to heal itself. But a peaceful mind alone is not enough. Physical health is the second map you need to master to protect your biological fortress.
And here, the book continues to shatter false myths. Speaking of exercise, many people think that to stay young and healthy, they must rush to the gym and train like warriors, exhausting their strength to the last drop of sweat. But telomere science warns of the opposite. Overtraining, pushing the body past its limits, actually creates oxidative stress. It's like revving an engine too hard, causing it to catch fire and severely damaging the cells. So, what is the perfect dose? Dr. Blackburn points out that telomeres love moderation. Studies show that those who maintain moderate-intensity aerobic habits, like gentle jogging, cycling, swimming, or interval-intensity HIIT for about 45 minutes a day, maintaining 3 to 4 days a week, have the longest DNA plastic caps. The golden key lies not in violent self-torture, but in rhythm and perseverance. Just warm up your body, increase your heart rate to a certain level, cells immediately signal to clean up waste.
And pump more life-extending enzymes. And after you have exercised, your body needs a giant laundromat to clean up the damage. That great laundromat is named sleep. Many people in modern society consider sleeping less a sign of hard work, of success. That is a suicidal illusion. Sleeping less than 7 hours a night, or having constantly interrupted sleep, suffering from sleep apnea, is like throwing your DNA directly into a grinder. While you fall into deep sleep, the glymphatic system in the brain begins to open its valves, washing away toxic protein plaques accumulated during the day. Deep sleep is the golden hour, the time when the telomerase builder operates at maximum capacity. An all-nighter or fitful sleep will immediately reflect on the shortness of telomeres the next morning. Of course, we cannot build a house without bricks and mortar. Nutrition is the supply source of vital building materials for telomeres. If you daily input into your body a massive amount of refined sugar from milk tea, soft drinks, eating a lot of processed meats like sausages, bacon, or loading too much white carbs, you are directly pouring gasoline onto the fire of inflammation in your body. Insulin resistance syndrome will destroy blood vessels and leave telomeres in tatters. In contrast, seek out the cell-protecting heroes. Top of the list is omega-3, abundant in marine fish like salmon and herring, or flax seeds and walnuts. Omega-3 goes directly into the cell membrane, creating a soft and sturdy armor layer to protect the telomere. Next are antioxidants from vibrantly colored green vegetables, berries, green tea. The most telomere-friendly diet, scientifically recognized, is the Mediterranean diet, overflowing with whole foods, whole grains, green vegetables, fish, and olive oil. Eating is not just filling the stomach. Every bite of food you take carries a stream of information code, telling the cells whether they should commit suicide or continue to live healthily. Up to this point, we have passed through the mind and body of an individual. But the greatness of the book, The Telomere Effect, does not stop at that isolation. The book opens up a macro perspective, profound and full of humanity about our species, the telomere legacy and the power of connection. Did you know that we don't just pass on to the next generation eye color, facial shape, or height?
Even more amazingly, through a mechanism called epigenetics, we directly pass on to our children the length of our own telomeres. The psychological state, stress, diet, and physical health of both parents during conception and pregnancy will determine the biological starting line of the child. If the mother or father lives in melancholy, depression, or a toxic environment, the child born will already carry shorter than normal telomere segments. The psychological and physical wounds of the previous generation can perfectly be imprinted onto the chromosomes of the next generation. This demands of us a much greater responsibility towards our own bodies, not just for us, but for the entire future of our species. And the environment around us also participates in this biological symphony. Science proves that loneliness, social isolation, is not merely a romantic psychological sadness.
From a microscopic perspective, loneliness is a type of chronic poison. Living without love, having no one to share with, causes brutal cellular wear and tear, equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Conversely, a life filled with connection has the power to heal all DNA damage. A happy marriage where two people understand each other, soulmates to pour out one's heart to, a bonded community with neighborly love, and a feeling of safety belonging somewhere. All of these things create something called social capital. Love, gratitude, giving are not just empty moral lessons. They actually go deep into the very core of genetic material, activate telomerase, warm the cells, and help them live longer, healthier. Finally, as we close the journey of exploring the telomere effect, the greatest message that remains within us is freedom and the right to master our destiny. For centuries, we have feared the so-called genetic destiny. But now science affirms, genetics is not a death sentence. The genes you received from your parents merely act as a gun. That gun might already be loaded with the bullets of disease, of frailty. However, it is your lifestyle, how you choose to think, how you eat, move, and the environment you surround yourself with. That is the finger deciding whether to pull the trigger or not. You are not a victim of time. You are the chief architect who is redesigning your own biological map.
Every nutritious meal you choose instead of fast food, every night you decide to turn off the phone early to fall into a deep sleep, every jogging step under the sun, every time you take a deep breath to dispel anger, and every sincere hug you give to a loved one. All of those seemingly small actions are silently reweaving, regenerating, and strengthening the DNA plastic caps inside you. Aging is an inevitable law of the universe, a process that no living creature on Earth can escape. But how you grow old, with an exhausted and painful body, or with a vibrant agility and clear mind, living with a fading mindset or a brilliant spirit, that is entirely your privilege to choose. Right after this video ends, right within today, which habit will you choose to start re-nourishing the cells that are working tirelessly inside your body? Take a moment to slow down, listen to the body, and make the decision to change. Thank you for accompanying me on this trip deep into the core of life. If you find this knowledge truly valuable and it brings you a new perspective, don't forget to leave a comment to share your thoughts below. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell for us to continue together to decode the most wonderful mysteries about humans, philosophy, and the surrounding world in the next videos. Wish you a life that is not just longer in years, but also deep, healthy, and brilliant in every moment. See you all again.